Hi, my name is Catherine Hoyle, and this is my evaluation for the podcasts. So, question one is describe the production techniques and the processes you used in creating your podcast. So, to begin with, I had to think of a subject, and I wanted to focus mainly on COVID-19 and it, how I see it and how it's affected me. As I have underlying health conditions as well, I thought it would be something different for people to see if they don't deal with something like this. And it was also just to kind of get it out there that everybody's story is different and the ways that they cope with it and changes from before lockdown to now. After that, I started to write a script, which I edited a lot to get it to where I wanted it to be. I wondered about developing my characters and if I should have more than one character, but I ended up just kind of having it as me speaking and telling it kind of how it is. The way that I rehearsed it is I would video it, and then if it didn't sound right, I would do it again and again and again and again, until I had the piece that I wanted or liked the most. With my editing, I didn't do a lot. I kind of left it mainly how it was because I'd seen not seen, but I'd listened to a podcast and there was no instrumental music, there was no intro music, no ending music. It was just straight to the point, got to what they were speaking about, and I've tried to find it, but unfortunately I can't. But it was a really good podcast, and I listened more to what the speaker was saying in compared to going, oh, I know that song, or I know this piece, or looking at the photos that they had. I just kind of went down there, which for me I thought would be a lot more different, a lot more kind of what it's like now. But I did do video after video after video after video after video, and I chose the one that sounded right because in my others there was a lot of things that went wrong, and in that one there was less things that went wrong. For question two, other than acting, what other roles did you perform in the TV studio to support other students' work, and how well did you perform them? So this would have been when we were working in our TV studios and recording things. We recorded like little scenes. I did a lot of backstage stuff. I think I did maybe one or two pieces of acting. Because I prefer more backstage roles. I'd like do the floor assistant, manager, director, floor manager it's called, sorry, live editing, the person that has the headset issuing the commands. And it was different to work out the different roles of everything. Some of them are a lot more higher than others. Some of it you needed to pay a lot more attention for, so when you were live editing, you needed to pay attention to what your director was telling you, how they wanted the scene to look, when they wanted you to stop, when they wanted you to get a zoom in on the face, get a faraway shot. So that was quite demanding because you had to pay attention to them whilst not looking at them, whilst figuring out which controls to use, which were very confusing sometimes. The The floor manager was quite a good one. I enjoyed being a floor manager. You would be told when you were gonna start recording, and you'd have to say if everybody was clear. In between scenes, you would talk to the actors. You'd make sure that they felt okay. You'd tell them that they did a good job. If the director had a problem, sometimes you'd be called into the recording room. The recording room, I think it is. It's like a little separate room to the other studio. And they'd say, can you just tell so and so that they've done it the wrong way again? Can you make sure they know what they're doing? I enjoyed that one quite a lot because it was just very different than being a director. A camera operator was very different. I've never operated a camera before. So learning how to move the actual camera without moving the little legs for it was different. And then you had one that was connected to like a big long line, and that was used for like going in shots. That one was quite difficult. I remember using that one on someone's little thing, little short, little scene. And it was very difficult to get the shot that they wanted, that we needed to get Tom to come in and help us, but it was all kind of fine after that. I think with each and one I performed well. As I would always kind of be asking what they wanted. I'd make sure to talk with the director of that scene, and I'd be like, what is it you're wanting? What is it that you want me to do? Do you want me to do anything? So it was kind of around that kind of thing. So question 3 is, what are the demands of acting on screen compared to acting on stage to a live audience? It was very different. There wasn't an audience, so I couldn't bounce off them. So if I was in a live show, I would be able to kind of communicate with my audience, laugh with them, cry with them, that kind of thing, like energy wise as well. So being on a camera set, it was very different for me to kind of work out where my audience was. I understood the role of looking at the camera, but like kind of to the side a little bit. But it definitely took me a couple of goes to get that correctly, and there's a lot more people that work on a film shoot than a theatre show, which was quite surprising because there was so many people in the recording booth. That's what it is, a recording booth. Than there were actually on the floor. Sometimes we'd have like 1 or 2 cameramen, and then there'd be like 5 people in the recording booth, and you wouldn't hear the feedback that you were getting. You kind of had to wait until they told you, which was completely different to that as well. There's a pressure of getting it right in the short amount of time, because you'll only get a certain amount of hours with that equipment or with that space. So on a couple of them, we did kind of move very fast paced, like you were working on a set. So it would be like, this is our last one, we need to get it right, there's a lot of pressure, and kind of that conversation going on, whilst other ones we would be like, we've got time, we can do it, just hold on and wait. So it was very different from a live show in knowing how long you've got because you'd own the space or you'd rent it out and you'd know how much you were renting it out. There's not a lot of rehearsal. So we got given a script at one point, and it was learn it now in a group, and then we're going to get to recording, whereas in a theatre, you'd be given it months in advance, and you'd have plenty of time to rehearse things, so that was quite demanding, because you'd have to remember a full script, or maybe like half a page or something, which was really difficult for me at one point. Question 4 is, as an actor, what considerations do you have to make when acting in a podcast? A lot of mine was filmed like this, through my headphones like this, and I held this like this. I had to make sure that my volume wasn't too loud, volume of my voice. The microphone in here, if that was too close, too far away. Should I put the camera on my windowsill and sit on my bed? Should I put it a little while in front of me and speak? Do I want my audience to properly hear me, or do I want it to be a little bit distorted? Would I have my script next to me, or would I learn it and then just talk through it? Which I had my script near me, and I think that in doing it again, if I could, I would make sure to learn the script completely inside out and then do my podcast, because I think at some points I would lose where I was, and that meant that I had to redo it again, or you can hear it in my voice where I got distracted and I was kind of continually talking. I didn't stop, but I was trying to find back where I was in the sentence. Another thing was, if I went outside, did I want to do it on a day where it was less windy or more windy to create an effect? I think a big one was, I did want to do it outside, and I live quite near some woods. So I kind of was walk around and I found a tree and I was like, oh, that I could just sit there and record. And I tried it and it was too windy. You could, like, the animals were like amplified, and it just wasn't a good setting, and which was really upsetting because I thought it would give quite a nice, like, natural background music effect, which it ended up not being. I think I'd have to use one of the weird little like fluffy microphone sticker things where it stops wind getting through the microphone. So I'd have to buy one of those, or make one if I wanted to do that. I've got. I had to make sure that if I was going to use an accent, if the accent came through clear. I was thinking about doing, I think it was Scottish. It was Scottish or Irish, and I tried it and it didn't come through as clear. You couldn't hear the words, even though I knew what I was saying. It's just that you couldn't make out some of the words due to the accent, so I had to get rid of that, and I ended up just sticking with what I had. I also had to think about what type of background I wanted. If I wanted like instrumental music, if I wanted it to have words getting louder at the end of the podcast, which I ended up not doing. I think my podcast just kind of gets straight to the point, straight kind of in there, like it's like a diary entry. And yeah, that's kind of what I see about mine. And those seem to be all the questions that I've got. I had a lot of freedom to create my podcast and to where I filmed it. Obviously, I wanted to do it in some places than others, but you work with what you've got. If I could redo my podcast, I think that I would probably try out more options. Than what I did. So